Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Paige Abbott, registered psychologist in the province of Alberta and the owner and provider at Sana Psychological. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. It is the start of a new year, so it is now 2021. And with the start of a new year, there's a bunch of different implications that comes with, but a main one that I still see to this day is around those New Year's resolutions. And that quest for health change, the shifting of behavioral patterns that people have been frustrated with for months, years probably, and somehow January 1st and January becomes the time where that's all going to change. Now, by the time this video gets posted, we will probably already be on the tail end of that, meaning any of the goals or the commitments that many people made will have already started to fall off. A reason for this is maybe it wasn't the right time for you to jump onto that particular goal. Another reason is perhaps you're kind of combating genetics, a lot of deep-rooted programming that can be hard to move away from, and a bunch of other reasons, but perhaps also your goals were not very realistic, and so maybe it's time to relook at those goals and those intentions for yourself. And while I'm certainly a proponent of health and wellness and self-development, obviously, I wouldn't do the work that I do every day if I wasn't. I do also believe that we have to incorporate into the mix a focus on self-love and self-acceptance. Now, some people confuse this or misunderstand this to mean that we have to just be okay with the way that things are, and that if we self-accept and that if we self-love, now we're not going to be growing and changing. We're going to fall into complacency, which is not what most people want to see for themselves. And I can totally understand that concern and that fear. I don't want complacency or a lack of change or goal setting or growth for you either. But if we don't have a fundamental love and appreciation for who we are at this moment, then it's actually going to be very difficult for us to move forward with our intentions and our goals, because trying to self-develop requires an investment in ourselves. And if we don't like ourselves and if we don't accept ourselves, you're probably starting to see the challenge here. We're not going to feel much energy to investing in ourselves. It's basically like trying to commit to a relationship with somebody that you don't even like and don't want to spend time with. Chances of that relationship going very well are poor. Now, I thought I would focus this video a little bit more specifically on the realm of kind of self-image and relationship with body, because of all of those messages that we receive about that in the new year. But of course, self-love and self-acceptance goes so far beyond that. So self-love and acceptance encapsulates how we feel about our personality, our character traits, and how we kind of move about and operate in the world. It can tap into our skills, our professional traits that we value about ourselves. But I do find that where people tend to struggle the most is that acceptance of body. I know for myself that's something that has been a personal challenge throughout my life. I've gone through kind of various different body shapes and sizes and all of that stuff throughout time, as we all do. And at times there's been more acceptance than others. And as I look back, that level of acceptance really has not been dependent on how my body was actually looking or functioning. It was dependent on my state of mind. And when I listen to those internal and external messages that I can only love myself if, I look a certain way, or whatever the fill in the blank is, then of course I come out of that not feeling very good. I tend to focus on what's missing, what's not right, what needs to change. And I know that many of you are the same because you've been exposed to a lot of the same messages. We're living in the same culture and society, and so we see and hear a lot of those same and common messages, and a lot of them are very hurtful. And over time, we are seeing a more focus on, just improving overall health, whatever that means for you. Building strength, building movement, building time outside, appreciating the function and the capability of your body from a kind of strength and capability perspective. But there are the lingering effects of some of these other messages as well. And I can't and won't entirely blame society for all of this. I think a lot of that messaging also just gets internalized and we carry it forward. And we might have heard it from family members, we might have heard it from friends, even teachers, people who were helping to guide us who just didn't know any better. So, how do we come to accept our imperfect selves? Well, I think there's a clue right in that question, that word imperfection, that for many of us, we do get caught and tempted by that quest for perfection. And I think as a starting point, it is important to remind yourself, probably very regularly, that nothing, including you, including any skills, pursuit, body, anything that you want to pursue, will never be perfect. And rather than view that as a bad thing or limiting thing, can you actually view that as a gift, as a strength? It's actually very freeing to know that I will do my best, but there will always be some room to grow, some room for improvement. I personally actually find that quite exciting, quite heartening. It gives me some freedom. It releases a bit of the pressure to do it perfectly and do it to the kind of perfect standard that I can't uphold, and rather focus on just doing things to the best of my capability. It also starts to give one the freedom to just appreciate things as they are. So in that acceptance of imperfection, we can then start to look at what is. So mindfulness, being present, being focused, being aware of what is, rather than what came before or what we want to have come in the future, helps us to be more accepting of those imperfect selves that we all carry. So now we're actually looking at, what did we create? What did we do? Who are we? Rather than the lack or the absence. And that's a huge psychological sticking point for people, is getting focused on the lack, the absence. What's missing? What's not there? What do I need to grow? And of course, focusing on what's missing is really difficult for our brains because we're essentially focusing on a blank space. Whereas if we're actually focusing on something that exists, that's more tangible, and there's a lot more that our brain and our psyche can do with that. So accepting that things will be imperfect, being mindful, focusing on what is, can also then set us up for being able to look at gratitude and affirmations. Gratitude for what we already have that exists around us, as well as gratitude for our strengths and our capabilities. It also can then set us up to be able to do affirmations, which are very personal and very unique, focusing on your strengths, your capabilities. And for some, they will target this to a specific area. Maybe it is around body and your relationship with that kind of physical vessel. Maybe it targets more kind of your general characteristics. Maybe it's more focused on other parts of life where you struggle to have that validation and that acceptance of yourself. Perhaps it's in the realm of parenting, work, school, wherever you feel that you may be carrying some doubt, or it might be a more general exercise. But doing daily gratitude around what were you pleased with for yourself that day, and what can you affirm, can also help in coming to that acceptance of our imperfect selves in all different levels. And another way that we can come to acceptance of our imperfect selves is to spend time with ourselves, get to know ourselves, do things that you enjoy, live life in an authentic and a congruent way. So don't be falling into doing what you think others want you to do, looking for their approval, looking for their acceptance. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's truly just not worth it. The attention and the energy that they're going to provide you is so small and so limited compared to the energy that we give ourselves on a daily basis. You are with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nobody else is. And so we need to be the ones who are living authentically and congruently. Now, this doesn't mean that we ignore other people's preferences or other people's hopes or wishes, but we do ultimately have to keep checking that in with what do we want, what do we value, what's comfortable for us, and moving towards that authenticity. These are big topics. This is something that will likely be a lifelong work in progress for all of you. There's lots of resources. Brené Brown is a really popular resource for looking at self-love, compassion, dealing with shame, improving resiliency. So you may want to check out some of her resources. Again, the name is Brené Brown, and there's lots of books, TED Talks, different things that she's put out over the years to kind of encourage and validate. And along the way, some people like to look up just what are affirmations and learn more about that. So there's lots of tools out there to support you in your quest. But if you can move forward with honesty and openness and willingness and that ability to accept that there is imperfection here. We don't have to have that quest for the perfect anything. We really just need to focus on validating and appreciating what is and identifying what our goals are, what we want to keep working on, but not with that quest of perfectionism, but with the quest to improve our experience and our quality of life while we're here on this planet, because it is a relatively short period of time. We might as well make it the best that we can while we're here. I wish you all the best moving forward, and I hope that this is part of the stepping stone for you in continuing to move forward with a healthy and happy quality of life. Take care, and thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.